up, gamers? It's St. Patrick's Day. Well, that's the day we're filming this anyway.
While we're filming, probably not when you're seeing.
Yes. And today we are going to be reviewing Call to Adventure by Brotherwise Games, designed by Chris and Johnny O'Neill.
Brotherwise, is that because they're brothers?
I think you are very much safe in assuming so. Chris and Johnny, if you guys do happen to check out our video, please let us know if our suspicions are correct. Now, that being said, I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who's going to tell you more about the game itself.
So this is a 1 to 4 player game that can be played solo, cooperative, or competitive. I'd call the cooperative maybe semi-cooperative, but we'll get into that in the review.
Well, it's similar to Legendary, but there's some differences.
It's intended for ages 13 and above. Again, I think it could probably be played a little bit younger than this.
I think you could go way younger than this.
Not way younger. I was going to say about
go like
10.
9.
Nah, 10.
Depends on your kid. In any case, 13 and above, I think we both agree, a little too high.
And 30 to 60 minutes. I think from what our experience shows, 2-player is closer to 30 minutes, and a 4-player game is definitely closer to an hour.
Yeah, fair assessment. Nothing to add. Now, just to tell you, what are you going to be doing in the game? Well, each player has a hero board, and you're going to be building a hero. By doing that, you're going to be taking on challenges, gaining abilities, or adding different traits to your hero. The game is divided up into 3 acts. And once you have 3 cards under each of your 3 starting traits, which are your origin, motivation, and destiny, you'll then move on to the next act. So 3 cards under your origin, you're going on to Act 2. 3 cards under your motivation, you go on to Act 3. Once you have gotten 9 cards, and this is for the competitive game, which I do believe it's the primary way the game is designed. Mm-hmm. Every player gets 1 last turn. Doesn't matter who triggers the end game. Everyone gets 1 turn. Then you count up your score, and the player with the most destiny points wins the game. Now, if you're playing this cooperatively, you're going to be fighting an adversary, and instead of having 9 turns after you've acquired 8 cards, you are obligated to fight the adversary. Once the adversary is defeated, both players, well, I said both, but all players will win the game, but you see who is the mightiest hero, just like Legendary, and the player with the most points will win the game. That being said, I think I've gone on enough about the game. Let's take you through the components, teach you a little bit how to play, and we just may do a playthrough of this game in the near future. Won't be overly difficult or overly long. Unlike our Village Attacks one, guys, yes, it's coming. I'm sorry. It's a lot of editing work.
So on that note, we're going to grab our drinks.
Oh, look, see? St. Patrick's Day. I got it. Grab our best friend.
We're going to take it to the table.
Take it to the table. I'm looking forward to getting this back to the table since we were lucky enough to play it with some good friends too, which we'll talk about in the upcoming review. So keep it right here. Now we're going to take a look at the components for Call to Adventure. And I'm going to be doing something a little different than what I've done in the past. I am going to actually set up the game and take a look at the components at the same time. I think it's going to be the best way to get a good look at the game. Now, let's get to it. First, what I'm going to show are the things that aren't going to be on camera. We will start with the rulebook. So you've got the Call to Adventure game rules. Very nice rulebook. You do get some nice flavor text to really set the stage. Shows you how to set it up. This is great if you do not have the playmat. As you can see, we've got the playmat and does set it up just a little differently than what you see here. When you get to the end, you get the solo and co-op rules, just a probability chart, FAQ, and a nice quick start guide. Now I'm going to take this off camera and we will take a look at the player boards. Now you do get 4 player boards. I got one upside down here, but as you can see, the game comes with 4 of them. For teaching you how to play as well as setting up the game, we're just going to use 1. Now here are the adversary cards. These aren't going to be set up, even though I'm only going to be using 1 board, as the real main way to play is competitive. We'll talk briefly about the co-op and how to set it up. As you can see, we've got the co-op and solo mode card, which just tells you how you're going to win or lose the game, the different quests that you're going to be on, as well as the Rise of the Adversary quest that you will always have to have in play. And there's a quest for all the different adversary cards that are in the game. Next, we've got the hero and anti-hero cards. You can put them in either spot. Now, the hero cards will give you points when they're played at the end of the game. Sorry I didn't get everything here going in one direction. Doesn't really matter. We'll just take a quick look. Now, these are able to be played during your turn. As you can see, we'll modify your chance to succeed when you are attempting a challenge. All you're going to do, shuffle them, place them on the board or near your play area like you saw in the rulebook. We've got the anti-hero cards, which will also be modifying your chances to succeed. And I'm just going to take a quick look. There are some also that will be more of a hindrance to other players. So for example, you can play this one after another hero's attempted a challenge. They have to try it again. As well, these will be adding to your overall score for all the cards that you've played during your turn. And we'll place that up there. It really doesn't matter where you place the cards, just that they get set up. And one thing I want to showcase, as I love it, is the beautiful rule tray. Well, not really beautiful, but I think it's beautiful because it comes in quite handy. Now you can set this up near the play space. On camera, I just do not have enough room for it. And as you can see, you've got all the different runes for the different traits. And we will briefly go over them. I may make some mistakes. Green is wisdom. You've got blue, which is intelligence, charisma. And before I go on too far, each rune, the third one, which you can only use after you have 3 of those traits on your board, is a special one. So you can see with this one, it will either come up as a double or it will let you draw a dark hero card. So not a dark hero card, an anti-hero card. You may have some that let you draw a hero card, gain an XP. The symbols are on your player board. Now I'll just place those back. We'll continue on. You've got the Constitution runes. We have the Light and Dark Tracker, which during setup you place as neutral. We then have Dexterity. And you've got your Sword Slash right here. These are the standard ones. I'll get to them in a moment. So Sword Slash, once again, 3 of them. And then your 3 standard runes, which I will leave out because we will always be using those. And then place those right up here. And then the 3 dark runes, which you can use by purchasing XP. Now, when this symbol comes up on a dark rune, you move down the corruption track, but it counts as 2 successes. Now, I'm just going to place this slightly off camera. I'll be pulling the runes on during the how to play when we need them. Now, let's keep moving on. And we're going to start by setting up the different acts. And we'll discuss how that works. Now, first thing you're going to do is start with Act 1. Cards, once again, aren't all in the same direction. Not a big deal. Let's get it nicely set up. So you're going to take out all the Act 1 cards, but here you've got your origin cards. With regards to the Act 1 cards, you shuffle them up. You're going to place them on the board, and in a 1 to 2 player, 1 to 2 player game, you start with 4 cards. Now you deal out the first 4 cards. If you so happen to deal out, and I'll find the card, an ally, just fix that one at the same time. So we've got an example of an ally right here. The ally card, when it's drawn, it would need to be assigned to a challenge. The player that drew the card gets to assign it to a challenge, or as you're doing setup, just assign it immediately to the previous challenge. Now, if, for example, the last card in the Act 1 deck is this, and there is no challenges left, there is only traits like Orphan, then this card will get discarded, and that's the way it works. Now, once we've got this all set up, let's shuffle it a couple more times for good measure. We place out the Act 1 cards. Next, we need to get our origin. What you do is you would deal each player 2 cards and then get to then pick one. I'll just give this a quick shuffle. And I'll deal out the 2 cards, returning these to the game box. We then have our origins and we can decide which one we want. We can be an Outlander, which gives us access to the traits of Constitution and Wisdom, or a Beggar, which gives us access to the traits of Dexterity and Charisma. Now, typically you will have set up your characters before you've dealt this out. I'm just doing it all at once because it works well with the flow that I'm going for. And I always like the Outlander one. I tend to like the Wisdom challenges, but looking at what's on the board, so cheating just a little bit really, I would pick the Beggar, and my Beggar special ability is whenever I fail a Dexterity or Charisma challenge, I gain an extra 2 experience points. And as experience points are a valuable resource, you definitely want to have a way to gain it. I will then return this to the box with the rest of the origins. Next, we come to the Act 2 cards and the Act 2 destinies. Now, Act 2 also includes cards known as adversaries. And we'll take a look at those in a moment, then we'll really just talk a little bit about these traits and things like that before getting to Act 3 and the destinies. Look, I mixed in one of the destiny cards. Just be sure to take them all out. Now, let's see if we can find an adversary. Perfect. So I will actually put this out right now. You're not actually going to reveal it, but I want to be able to talk about it. So an adversary is a challenge that has a specific path or something that you might place, above the game board or someplace out here, wherever you want it to say, this is the card that I'm challenging in my solo or cooperative game. Now, what you need to do is you can use these 2 runes. You can use Charisma and Constitution to fight the adversary. You need to get a success of 6, like with other challenges. I'm just explaining it now. And you would succeed by getting 4 hero points and also a new dexterity trait. Now, adversaries do have ongoing effects when they're on the board. Some may be always in effect. Some might just affect the specific challenge. For example, with this one, when attempting this challenge, you may spend experience to gain +1, meaning you'd only need to get 5 successes. And don't worry, we'll cover that when we get to the how to play. But in any case, I'm going to put this back, shuffle it up, and I'm just going to leave it there because Act 2 does not get unlocked until later on. We've got our motivation cards right here. We give them a shuffle, and just like the destiny cards, we deal out 2, and the rest get returned to the game box. We now get to select from these motivations. You could choose Bound by Honor. So when you overcome a challenge by 1 or less, gain 1 XP. That's pretty cool. Or we could get the Vow of Vengeance. When you fail a challenge or sacrifice an ally, gain an extra XP. I've used the Vow of Vengeance before. Never tried Bound by Honor, but as sometimes you succeed like right on with regards to challenges, I think it's a great card, and this will be returned to the game box. Then we're just going to talk about Act 3, and don't worry, we're going to go over these traits and challenges. With regards to Act 3, once again, you're going to take out your Destiny cards. You shuffle up the Act 3 cards. Just to note, there are no allies available in Act 3, only adversaries, just like there were no adversaries in Act 1. And you just place them out on the board as so. And you then shuffle the Destiny cards. You deal out the 2 cards and put the rest in the game box. Now take a look at our Destinies. And these only show up at the end of the game. Now you'll notice you can be a Master of Whispers at the end of the game. Pretty neat. You gain 1 anti-hero destiny point for each trait that you have of Dexterity and Charisma, meaning I'd start with 2 points right there, and then 2 hero destiny points for each ally you have. Now at the end of the game, with regards to Paragon of Light, you would gain 3 victory points if you have the light symbol, one of those or more, and then an extra heroic triumphant point for each of those in your story. Meaning, good reason to go heroic, good reason to move up the light track, as I already have some. We'll pick Paragon of Light. Now this is sort of your hidden card. Well, not sort of, it is. You will place this face down on your board. You may look at it at any time, but you do not need to reveal it to the other players. And set that down, let's get that back. We return this Destiny to the game box. And the game is now set up. But I want to take a close look at just some of the other components that we have. For example, there is the nice score sheet pad. You can write down the player names and just tally up the score right here. I do like it. I've yet to see if Brotherwise has this up on their website. But if you're like me and you often don't like damaging components, I suggest that you check. We also have this nice original backer bag. This is extra for the Kickstarter only, much like the playmat. Doesn't do anything. I've just decided to use it to store the experience tokens. And at the start of the game, you will start with 3 experience tokens. So we'll get that set up and we will put this away. And that covers really everything that we have with regards to the components. If you're wondering what runes are what, you've got a nice chart right here. And then just a quick reminder about the symbols. And you can also reference the board. Slash of any color equals 1 success. When you take a look at this symbol, it means 2 successes. And then there's always the third special rune, which you need to have 3 traits for. So we've covered all the components. And just to talk quickly about these cards, as we haven't gone into detail about them, these cards are challenges or traits with regards to Act 1. After that, you also have allies and adversaries. We've taken a look at both of those. So let's take a look at the challenges. The name of this challenge is Cruel Winter. To succeed at this challenge, you may spend Constitution and Dexterity. You need to succeed by 4. Now, you get to choose your path. You may take the path of Steel to survive, where you'll gain 1 Dark or anti-hero destiny point, and then also unlock the dexterity ability. You may also forage for food instead, which gives you a story point of a mountain, and then will give you an extra ability point in Constitution. Now, these story points, as you can see there, will give you bonus points at the end of the game for chaining them together. You can reference the score sheet. 2 of the same kind give you 2 points. 3 of the same kind give you 4 points, and 4 of a kind will give you 8 points. Now, there are traits such as Orphan. This would let you gain 2 anti-hero destiny points. You would also be able to draw an anti-hero card. And then when you gain this card, you also gain some corruption, and you would gain 2 experience points. To gain a trait, you just decide that you're going to gain it. So there you have it. That's how you set up Call to Adventure, and you've seen all the components, so keep it right here, and I'm going to dive into the how to play as we work towards building this epic hero. Now, how do you play Call to Adventure? Well, just for a quick reference, I'm going to grab the Quick Start Guide, and we're going to focus what you can do on your turn. Now, on your turn, you may gain a trait or attempt a challenge. These things can only be done 1 time. Now, during your turn, you may also journey. Journey means paying 1 experience point, which you'll get rid of. And you're able to discard one of the cards here and draw a new one. Let's say I don't like Orphan. I decide to journey. I can then flip over and reveal another card, which gives the trait of Studious. Now, just to give you an idea, if I chose to acquire Studious, the conditions are written on the card. You may only gain this if you have already intelligence or spend 1 experience, meaning I can spend this 1 more experience point and then I would add it to my board. What then happens is I add it underneath my card with the part that I've chosen to do showing. So with regards to a challenge, it will either be the top or the bottom after you decide what you're doing. And after that, it would move on to the next player's turn. And I just forgot after the setup to put that back. once my turn has been completed, I would then draw another card. The second player will then take their turn, either engaging, and we'll get this out of the way now, either engaging in one of the challenges or acquiring a trait. Now, if you fail a challenge, unless you're playing the cooperative mode, nothing negative happens. We'll imagine there's a second player for a moment. We'll say that they decided that they were trying to forage for food and they failed. All you would then do is discard this card. That's what happens when you fail a challenge. It gets removed. No other players may attempt it, and you draw another card. Now, Act 2 will open up once we have 3 cards under our first card. And it's not necessarily the first player, it can be the second player. Once a player has 3 cards under their origin, Act 2 opens up. You may then, if you have not completed your origin set, acquire Act 2 cards to go under your origin. The same thing works with regards to motivation. Once a player has 3 cards under their motivation, Act 3 is open, and then those cards may be placed anywhere. Please note, though, that you must fill up 3 cards under each in order to complete the game. You must have a total of 9 cards. Now, we looked at what we're able to do. We talked a little bit about the turn. The other thing that you may do during your turn that does not have a limit is play hero or anti-hero cards. You may play as many as you want as long as they apply to the situation. And you may activate any abilities available from you on your character cards or allies, and you may do that as many as you want. If you've got a few abilities that chain together, well, feel free to use them. So we will now imagine our first player went, he got studious. Our second player, well, we're not imagining the first player, but our second player imaginarily lost forage for food. And we are now on the second turn of our first player. And we are building this heroic story. What we now want to do is take on a challenge. We will look at the traits that we have and what is available. We have intelligence and charisma, which really relates well to the arcane ability because that lets us use, and I'll pick up the card, so we'll show it like this, let us use charisma and intelligence. Now right now we can still play the anti-hero cards and hero cards. This section of the track tells you what cards you can play. If you go too far, you will be cut off from playing hero or anti-hero cards. So really only at this area do you have access to both. Meaning getting an anti-hero card can be a good thing. It'll also let me teach you about how those cards work. So let's take our runes. We start with the 3 base runes. We then get a rune for each of our traits that correspond to the challenge. And we'll just move this over here to make it clear what we're doing. We gain a rune for intelligence, a rune for charisma. We then shake it up and we will cast the runes. Now in this case, we needed a success of 4. We have 4 successes, meaning we have succeeded. We chose to go for Sorceress Talent. We will pick this up. We place it under our card, revealing the section that we need. We then also draw the anti-hero card. Now, in this anti-hero card, you can see this. We may play this during a challenge that we are attempting and choose 1 rune and flip it over. That's great as we can potentially turn this rune from 1 success to 2 successes. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can purchase, for the cost of 1 experience, a dark rune. So spending this experience would have given us access to a dark rune. This may be done up to 3 times on your turn, and these runes are only good for that specific attempt. So we'll just imagine I was afraid of succeeding at my Sorcerer's Talent. I'd spend money, well, not money, XP on a dark rune. We'll just put this over here right now, but we'll just show you how it works. We'll cast the runes, and a massive success. However, we got the corruption symbol, which means we move down the corruption track, and this counts as 2 successes. And that's essentially what you're going to be doing for the game, making decisions, casting runes, getting cards, and playing cards. What we'll do right now, I'm just going to flip over another card, and that's perfect because it actually is an ally. Now we'll just imagine that it is player 2's turn. This ally may be applied to any one of these challenges right here. We'll say that player 2 wanted Constitution. They think they're going to get it. They decide to attach that there. We then draw another card, which gives the trait of Rebellious. In this case, we will imagine that player 2 decided to take Rebellious. They gain 1 Corruption, or they would have to spend XP. At the start of the game, gaining 1 Corruption isn't so bad. We then draw another card, and it will be our first player's turns. We will turn the runes that we aren't using back to the tray. And let's take a look at what we want to do on our turn. Now, let's try harnessing Dark Power because I kind of like that idea. I'd like to get another anti-hero card. Be nice to get some more, intelligence here. We can use intelligence and Constitution. Fortunately, we'll just have Constitution. Now, for the first love, it is +1. We need a success of 5, which means that this anti-hero card that we have here might be perfect. It also may be a good chance to spend XP for our Dark Rune since we hadn't done that yet. But let's see how things go. Let's try to cast this. And you know what? We got lucky. We actually got 5 successes. We then gain this card. I'm just going to slide it up here. We're not going through the whole game. And we decided to harness Dark Power. We then gain an anti-hero card. Now it's important you get points at the end of the game for playing those cards, not for keeping them in your hand. They must be played. And what's then going to happen is we have unlocked Act 2. So on player's 2 turn, they will reveal their next card. But we'll also get access to Act 2 cards. As you see, we've got an ally right there. Well, we have Rags to Riches. Our first challenge will be attached to this ally. We will then play our first adversary, the Warlock, and we get a new trait of Criminal. And the game is going to continue so on and so forth. Just don't forget that with regards to these hero cards, I could play both of these on the same turn. For example, I want to play this against the Warlock. Can't really do it because this requires a Dark Path. This was a Dark Path. I could definitely play both of them. And that's really how you play the game. So what I'm going to do right now is we are going to move on and quickly take a look at how you play the cooperative version of Call to Adventure. I'm going to leave everything as is. We're just going to take some time to set up the villain. So keep it right here and we'll be right back. Now, how do you play and how do you set up the solo or co-op mode for Call to Adventure? Well, it is fairly simple. First thing that you have to do is remove all adversary cards from the game except for the one that you're facing. To keep things simple, I just took out the Warlock. What you then do is you take a look at what mode you're playing in. Solo, 2-player co-op, 4 or 3 players. You attach this underneath the card if you like. You can go under the other quest cards, Rise of the Adversary, which is always out, and then your specific quest. It tells you how many XP the Warlock needs to gain in order to defeat you and win the game. Just take a note that I've just moved some stuff along so that everything is still visible on camera. Just move some stuff off camera as we're not going to really be going that far into it. And I'm sure someone will point out to me in the comments, but I do realize that when I succeeded at that challenge, I actually should have gained some XP because of Bound by Honor, showing you just how good of a card it is. So we'll just toss out 2 XP on my board to just showcase a few things. Now, we will be able to interact and try to take out the Warlock once we are on our last turn. Essentially, we need to have 3 cards under our origin, 3 cards under our motivation, 2 cards under our destiny. The last card we acquire will be the Warlock. Now, what runes can we cast to defeat the Warlock? We may cast Intelligence and Wisdom. We may also discard a Dark Hero card to gain +1 while attempting this challenge. I always say Dark Hero even though it's anti-hero card. Don't know why, just something that I do. Now, how will this Warlock potentially defeat you? Well, every time you fail a challenge, the adversary gains 1 experience point. When you roll the result, and I know I didn't mention this before, we'll grab the runes. Whenever you cast this rune, it means to draw a hero card. You get to pick a hero or anti-hero card. However, when you cast this, when you're playing solo and co-op, you have a mini deck. You will notice, it'll be hard to see, there's a little skull here in the center of cards that form the adversary's deck. What then happens, that shows up, you're able to draw a card, but you flip over the card and you immediately apply its effects. So in this case, you play this after another hero's attempted a challenge. They must attempt it again, meaning you have to reattempt your challenge. Now, if at the end of the game, you do not have more than 30 destiny points, the adversary will gain 2 experience, meaning if they're at 3 and you win, you defeat them, but you don't have over 30 destiny points, they still win the game. Now, the specific adversary quest is the Warlock's Blight. You notice that his challenge rating goes up by 2. Whenever you gain a challenge with the mountain symbol, so as you can see, Commune with Nature has that symbol. We do need wisdom ability points to go against the Warlock. He does gain an experience point. However, you may mitigate that by once per turn, you can discard 2 anti-hero cards to take away experience from the adversary. Now, in a co-op game, what is very important is cards. And let's see if I can find some that are specific. So, for example, you have cards like Call of the Wild. That one won't apply. But Dazzling Wit will apply. So notice the Call of the Wild says this turn. It's a card that you can only play on your turn. Whereas Dazzling Wit, play this before you attempt a challenge. Whenever it says you may take that to mean another hero, meaning you can play this to help a hero complete a charisma or intelligence challenge. Other than that, the gameplay is going to proceed as normal. So just imagine we've been playing against the Warlock for a little while. It is once again our turn. And let's see what we're going to do. We're going to take a chance. Well, not take a chance, but it'll be a good example. We are going to decide to commune with nature as we don't have necessarily enough wisdom to fight the Warlock. We will take the 3 runes. We may use 2 charisma runes. And we're going to go cast that against Commune with Nature. Sorry, Savage Beast Commune with Nature. We'll cast it. And at this point, we did succeed because it's only 4. Once again, gaining the trait, which is good for us. However, unfortunately, the adversary gains 1 XP and is now closer to victory. We once again flip over a card. And if this is a multiplayer game, you then move on to the next player. If it's solo, you just continue until you get to the end of the game. So not all that much different. As you can see, there is some limited elements of cooperation. Some challenges and adversaries are harder than others and require you to work together at a whole other level than this Warlock one, for example. With that being said, we've covered how to play the game in cooperative mode. So now we're going to move on to our review of the game. So keep it right here and you'll hear Julie and I talk about our mighty heroes. Now, before I let Julie tell you about the game, she was asking me why I'm wearing the same sweater that I wore in the unboxing. Well, in Dragon Age, the game that this is from, you get to craft your own hero. You build your own Inquisitor. So that's why I am wearing my fantasy sweater Inquisitor clothing.
Okay, because you always have a reason for your costumes.
Hey.
I just get dressed in the morning.
Not all the time. Not all the time. You've had some very specific choices as well.
When you dress me.
It's not when I do it. Sometimes you've decided.
Anyways.
I think with Harry Potter, you were the one that was like, those ones. Now, in any case, let's move on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little bit of a sideshow.
So you came home very excited with this game.
Well, I didn't came home. I got very excited when it came in.
Okay.
Semantics.
Semantics, yes. So you were very excited. You're like, we're taking it to the table today. We're taking it to the table. And I have to say, I enjoyed it from the first time we played it. We played the competitive version, which is not that competitive. I have to say, when I played it, I didn't play... I had a couple of in-your-face cards that came up, and I chose not to play them. I was running the risk that I knew that Jason could decide to do it and pull out one of those cards, and I just figured I wouldn't be the first to do that, and it made for a much more civilized game, I would say.
You can actually choose to take them out if you want. It's not a variant in the rules. The reason why we do say that it's possible, when you look at the cooperative rules, those are all the cards that get removed from the game. That being said, the only time I would say that it would be very potentially productive to play them are in a close game or in a game where someone's trying to run away with it because you kind of have to.
So I was going to say we've played this. We've played it. The two of us. We played a couple of times. We've played different versions. We've played the competitive and the cooperative together a couple of times. And we've played the competitive version against the Cyber Bard and his wife.
Yes. But I was just going to say, what we're going to do is we're going to really go deep dive sort of competitive. We're going to break it out into the cooperative. We've kind of introed this review right now. I will have it timestamped when we were talking about the different versions of the game for those of you that want to come back, because essentially they're similar, but you could almost consider them two different games.
Before we get into the specific of the competitive and the cooperative, I think on the call to adventure, what I liked about the game itself.
So just the overall, that's perfect.
I think it has great production value. We are lucky enough to have the Kickstarter version, so we have a beautiful mat that I think does add to it. I think it is fun to have. I love the artwork.
The art is fantastic.
I think it's great artwork.
You can see some of it just on this very nice box.
It is very. It's my kind of. There are some dark ones as well, but there's nothing gruesome about it. It's just pretty, I find. And so I really like that.
And you love fantasy, and this is some really great fantasy art. And I think a good way to just summarize that, there are cards in this that if someone said, I'm giving you a painting of it, like even this box cover right here, maybe just take out the call to adventure, I'd hang it up on the wall. It's got really good art. Yeah,
so I like that. I think the cards are a little bit thin. I think we'll probably end up sleeving them.
They're not so bad. I would say my biggest disappointment, quality and production wise, would have to be the player boards themselves. The player boards are a little bland compared to the art that you get in the game. And we've played with 2 copies. The board started warping almost immediately out of the box. And that's so disappointing. We actually played the game on a clean table after we'd cleaned it up, and it was still getting, the backside was getting a little dirty, meaning it wasn't as well protected as the front part of the board where you're going to be laying out your cards. That's really my only complaint about the production quality. Everything else, for those that watch the unboxing, I think the insert, the tray.
Yeah, the runes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll let you talk about the runes.
So I enjoy that part of it. I think this game has a lot of things that I like about games. So you do get to chuck something. This time it's not dice, it's runes. And I had a couple of games where I was rolling, throwing, whatever you want to call it, really well, and other times that I just couldn't catch a break. So that's part of it. That's part of luck. There's also a lot of luck when it comes to the different cards you're drawing that are the base of your character. Right. So that can be something that some people might find disappointing, maybe, because you can end up. I don't think all the origin cards are at the same level, the same strength. I mean, there are times that I was really happy with what I pulled. There are some that have more powerful. And
there are some where I think you don't use the ability for the entire game. The same can be said with some of the motivations, while I do feel those are more balanced. I do agree with you. Depending on what shows up.
Yeah.
And especially what your destiny is, you can end up with a very underpowered origin. And that I do think is definitely a design flaw and a negative aspect of the game. I would have rather seen more balanced out origins or just everything fairly similar with enough variety so that you're not really getting anything that's going to be necessarily stronger one way or another. It might just give you an advantage based on the challenges and traits that show up.
Because in different games, it has come into play. So there are at least 2 games that I played that first of all, my cards did not work well together. Whereas I've had other games where I ran away with it because everything worked together. And not only did I roll well, I mean, that helps. But when your cards are helping you and are working
with the
together,
points again, yeah. A good example is, and sorry to just try to jump in right there, but I played as the Outlander, and we played with the Cyberbard and his wife, and he was the Outlander. And in the situations he ended up in, his Outlander card was very powerful. With regards to the situations I was in, the Outlander card felt like just any other origin. And it's just fairly interesting to see how that plays out in the game.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, I think overall, despite some of the quirks to the system, which I think would be a gigantic detriment, and I think we both would agree on that, if this was a long game. If this was like an hour and a half, 2-hour game, and you could get stuck with some really bad cards, I probably would be rating this game a lot less because it is a fairly light game, and despite having some maybe not as good cards, you're still able to succeed and be competitive in the game. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about sort of the game.
No, I'd go into the cooperative, the competitive version.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the competitive version first, because I think we both feel that that's really the way the game was designed.
Yeah. So we've played it competitive, and I'm honestly going to call it competitive light because I think there are ways to play this without being in your face.
And even the in-your-face cards aren't that bad.
Yeah, so, the Cyberbard, if he's watching, will recognize Cyberbard likes to play those in-your-face cards, and did. So he got it right back at him as well. I mean, it's only fair. If you're going to play them, you're going to play them. He was running away with the game yesterday. He was throwing the runes like a beast, and he had...
And even when he failed, he was getting XP. He was just getting victory points left, right, and center. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah, his cards, basically, his origin and motivation just basically made it that if he failed, which he didn't fail often, but if he failed, he did... He
got 3 victory points.
He got victory points.
Well, destiny points.
Destiny points. So, that being said, yesterday's game, had it been just 2 players, I would find we were playing 4 players. I think it still felt like he was overpowered, and it still felt like he was running away with the game. But we did have mechanisms to try to slow him down, which we used.
And in the end of the game, even though he ran away with it, just largely because luck, he was 2 cards ahead of the rest of us.
Yep.
And let's just take a guess here. 2 cards might have given people 5 to 10 destiny points at the end, which would have had people coming in at like 45, 48, only like 10 points behind. It wouldn't have been so bad, but we ended up coming in like 54, 38, 38, and then you were at just a little underneath that.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Anyways, had it been a 2-player, and I mean, it's happened a 2-player. It happened when we played one of the times, well, actually 2 times that we've played, one of the players just ran away with the game just because that's how it ends up. If you end up with motivations that...
But it wasn't always the motivations. One of those games was definitely because someone was rolling like crap. And 2 of those games was because someone was, I say rolling, but I mean chucking the runes. I did very poorly and you did very poorly. We were just far ahead. It was bad luck that game. And that's part of any sort of, dice chucking or random rolling game. Yep. Those situations can happen. It was a little annoying, but it wasn't like you're completely out of it.
So in those games, like Jason said, to the point, it's not a long game. When you're playing 2 players, it's 30 minutes. I ended up, as the words Jason used was, I was pretty sour after I lost. But, we decided to play again. I wasn't sure I wanted to play again because I had just lost badly. But then I won by a lot. And I think that's one of the things you have to remember. And once you've played this game maybe enough, that's kind of part of the game, and then the next time you can just you'll be on top again.
And one thing we didn't talk about, and it's a fun aspect that they build into the game, and it's part of the game design, and I might add, I'm going to mention it in the timestamps, or probably have a pop-up when we were talking about the original game, is that the game does a fantastic job of building a hero's story. I mean, the first time we played, Julie doesn't care that much about telling the hero story, but just going through the cards that I had and being a little bit thematic, I was able to be like, this is the journey of my hero. He was an orphan who was then found by people and rose up through the ranks by defending the castle and becoming like the paragon of light. You're actually able to do that with the way the cards are set up, and that was really cool. And it's a fun aspect to the game. You don't have to engage in it, but with the right people, I think you can have a lot of fun. And even when you lose, you're going to get that cool, fun story.
You know, there's a certain steward, I think, that would love this.
Yes, definitely there is.
So that being said, you know, the negative, I think the one thing that is a little bit negative, as you said, we're not going to harp on it, is the fact that there is really a random element to it in the level of cards that you're going to pick. And I've got, of course,
there's a few layers, not to interrupt, but I think it's more the multiple layers of randomness, not just the one.
And the fact that you're also chucking runes that you can, you know, end up.
Yeah, random, the way the different traits and challenges are going to come up.
Yeah, and the different things that are going to come up at some point. There wasn't anything on the board that I could, you know, try to get because of the strengths that I had versus what I was trying to achieve. Yeah. That being said,
the other thing just to mention, also the randomness of experience. Certain builds might actually have a lot of experience, which is a valuable resource in the game. Other times you might get your 3 starting experience, and that's it. So keep that in mind while you're playing the game.
Yeah. I mean, so I think overall, though, I really had fun with it. It may sound like I'm not loving the game. I really enjoyed it. I think despite the fact that it has a lot of randomness to it, I think because it is short and the way it plays, even if you're layered with bad luck in one game, it's still you're still playing, and
there's a lot of opportunities for people to be close. Sort of jumping again a little bit there. I mean, when we were playing with the Cyberbard, like me and his wife, we were dead even, right?
And she felt like she was behind the entire time.
Oh yeah, and then she makes one gigantic play, like I'm going to do all this, and then racked up like 10 victory points at once. Yeah. And it was really interesting to see. And that's why I like this game, is there's a lot of opportunities. Things will have a little bit of a swing in it, but because it's not that big game that you're diving in, and if it goes badly, game night's ruined. I think it's a fun, light game. This is definitely a light game. There are some really cool mechanics, I'd say some deeper aspects to the game, but make no mistake, you can play this with just about anyone. And overall, I would say the rulebook is fairly well put together. There's some stuff that doesn't really seem self-evident, so just make sure you read the rules. And it is well done. I thought that the adversary rules was also well put together. I do like the fact that there is an FAQ included in the rulebook to address some of the concerns. There are still a couple of little things that are missing, such as, are adversaries paths? Do allies add to a path? So keep that in mind. You may want to go out and look at the Brotherwise website or go to Board Game Geek and see if someone has a definitive answer for you.
I'm ready to move on to cooperative. What about you?
I think I'm ready to move on to cooperative. Do you want to give a rating to the competitive, or do we just rate the whole thing as one package?
I think we'll rate it overall as one package. I would do that anyways, and just say it includes the fact that there's different versions of the game that you can play.
So here's what I'll say then. Since typically it's competitive, Julie doesn't love it, let's give it sort of is it like a 2 thumbs up competitive? Is it like a, yeah, okay. I think we both agree 2 thumbs up. The competitive version is a fun way to play this game. Now let's move on to the co-op version. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be surprised.
Yeah, this is not my favorite version of this game. I wouldn't call it cooperative.
She likes a competitive mode versus a cooperative. I never thought I'd see the day.
So the thing is also in this case, this game was designed to be competitive. And I don't feel that the cooperative version is that cooperative. Now
I think it's an expansion on the solo. I honestly think the designers had a good idea for the solo competitive version. And then they're like, oh, this would be neat. You can make your own hero. You can play it solo. And then they realized it could be cooperative as well.
So in the cooperative version...
one last thing. Sorry. Solo and cooperative, don't really play any differently at all. Just the amount of XP the adversary needs to defeat you.
So in the cooperative version, you have, I was going to say an ally because you just said an ally.
No, adversary.
You have an adversary that you will get to play against at the end. So whoever finishes, I think Jason kind of mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, when you've played, whoever plays their 8th card then has to fight the adversary. Now, the thing is, the first time we played cooperative, and I'm going to call it semi-cooperative because it really isn't that cooperative. It's not very different. You're playing your own game. You can help each other out. That being said, I played it in the mindset of playing cooperatively, and it basically, I never even got a chance at the adversary. Jason played first, and so he hit the 8th card first, and he...
Yeah, I also was rolling, chucking runes really very well.
I was right behind you. It's just, I was...
You were 2 cards behind me at the end there.
Not on that one. I was basically building a character to fight the villain, to fight the adversary, and I never got there. And then because the way the game works, you're counting the points at the end to see who's the mighty victor. I had hardly any destiny points, any victory points. And since Jason fought the adversary, basically I got trounced that time. So yes, as a group, we won because the villains defeated. However, I basically
didn't do much. You didn't interact with anything.
I didn't even get to use. I had maxed out my strengths to be able to chuck the maximum number of runes against this villain, but I never got that opportunity. So that honestly felt very disappointing. It felt flat because basically we could have been, we're playing 2 separate games like we did in the competitive game, honestly.
Yeah. And the one thing I would say is that there are different adversaries, different quests. From what we saw, we played level 2 adversaries, 2 of them. Both times it felt very much like playing a separate game. The only thing we're really doing together is sort of mitigating that loss condition to make sure that it doesn't happen, which, as Julie said, could be called more semi-co-op when you look at games like CO2 that we reviewed, which now have a full cooperative version because the semi-co-op version is still fun, but oftentimes people want to actually work together.
Yep.
And in this case, the only thing you're doing is trying not to lose like the original version of CO2 and sometimes like Nemesis. Perfect example is Nemesis.
Yeah.
It might be worth your while to work together on certain things, or you might have the card that wants to kill somebody.
So I also got pretty frustrated with that version because every time you roll a certain rune, which is basically...
The one that lets you draw cards.
Lets you draw cards. In the version where you're playing against the adversary, every time you roll that adversary gets to pull a card, which could make you have to automatically fail or redo or pick another challenge. And it's bad enough when you're trying to chuck stuff and you're doing something that's fairly difficult and you get it, to then say, yeah, you have to pick another one or you have to try to do it again. I was getting really frustrated with that. I guess it was just a mechanic that I didn't enjoy quite as much.
I don't mind that mechanic so much. I think it's a good part of the game. I understand why it's there because of solo. It's just that
every single time.
Yeah, it changed together.
I mean, there's one time that I had to redo it 5 times. So success.
Hey, you got like 10 victory points out of that. Well, 10.
Well, because of my character. So every time I rolled a specific rune, because it was one of my strengths, I got to pick.
You crushed me in that game entirely. We barely won because of the conditions, but you still crushed everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So I rolled success 5 times in a row. Like, yeah, yes, I got bonus points. I hope so, given the fact that I succeeded.
Well, you didn't succeed every time, but you generated some XP every time.
I succeeded almost every time. In any case, the last time we played against a very difficult adversary.
Yes.
One where you can't you basically can't make mistakes or very few mistakes or lose very many challenges because every time you lost a challenge, he gained an XP.
And anytime you gain like specific hero cards, he gained an XP. And sometimes you don't have a choice, so you get stuck gaining them based on the rules that you're cast. It was
difficult. It was difficult, and I would say not as pleasant for me because in this particular case,
we kind of just to be fair to all the viewers out there, we really jumped the spectrum. We kind of went from easier villains, just to really see how the whole game would work, all the way to probably the most challenging villain in the game. Because we really want to be able to talk about how the game could be cooperative and give you a full review
so
of it.
we had to play a little bit more cooperatively in that version.
Because we don't want each other to lose. You really need to help each other out with your hero cards.
But you have to be able to draw them as well. And one of the things I found for this one that was particularly difficult is the cards that allow you to help out other players tend to be the hero cards.
Not the anti-hero.
The anti-hero. And we're playing a villain where if you gain a hero card, he gains XP. And there's no way to have him lose XP. So it basically, in my case, it handcuffed me because of the cards that I picked. I basically had I couldn't use my strengths.
But your strengths weren't even that good. Let's be honest.
They weren't great, but I couldn't even use them at all.
No, it's
so basically
your strength was spending XP to get a hero card, and you had no XP generation. It's something that you probably wouldn't have used anyway.
Yeah. In any case, all that to say is you can probably tell it didn't. It felt a little flat, and I think that was the words I used the first time we played.
I think it's more fun solo, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know. I was going to say I feel it's more fun. That's why I feel it's more fun competitively. And yes, maybe I try to convince Jason to play it competitively. That's not in your face version of competitively. But
if you're running away by 20 points and I can make you reroll challenges, I will make you reroll challenges. And you can't be that mad at me for doing that.
if I'm truly running away with it by 20 points, then fine. But, so that, all that to say, I didn't hate the competitive version. You
mean the cooperative version?
The cooperative version. I just preferred the competitive version of this game. And I'm pretty sure you'd have fun playing this solo.
No, I think I would definitely play solo. I could see you playing it solo because you like the game and the challenge and the way it works is definitely built more solo. For a cooperative game, it feels very light in terms of cooperation. I do see how, depending on other scenarios, like I said, we really jumped the scale because the first times we played it with the level 2 adversaries, it really didn't feel cooperative. But I can see how there might be some really good level 3 adversaries, we haven't played all of them, that could hit that sweet spot where you need to be, I'm going to help you out, let's work together, let's get it done, and fall sort of more on that style that Legendary does. But it's not the main design feature of the game. It definitely feels like something that the designers were able to come up with, were able to add into the game and give you more options. That being said, I'm never going to knock a game for adding more modes that doesn't affect the performance of the core mode.
That's what I was going to say. So for my rating, I'd say my rating would be based on the fact that there is a version of this game that I truly enjoy, that I like, that it makes it enough. It could have no other versions, and I'd be happy with this.
Yeah. But I will say I do like the cooperative version of the game. It's a great way, especially to teach people the game. It gives you an easy excuse to take out those confrontational versions of the game, and you're still essentially playing competitive. So that is what I like about it. It's just that know what you're getting with this co-op/solo mode. You're not getting the let's work together, we will defeat the villain. You are very much getting a, we are both heroes, but one of us really wants to be the best hero, and we will begrudgingly work together so that this villain gets defeated. I think that's the best way to put it.
What were you one time? I pulled the squire card.
And I was the noble.
And he's like, so you're my squire? And I said, yeah, okay, whatever.
But her motivation was lone wanderer, so I'm like, well, then in this case, you were my squire, but you got sick of me and you left to do things on your own. So I will kill the warlock without you. And I did.
So are you ready to
give it? Because you abandoned me.
Yeah, I did. Because you were working alone. You weren't working as a team.
I had my vow of vengeance.
Okay. So are you ready to give it a rating?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to give this a rating. I'll let you go first because I want to hear how you're going to phrase this. I'm not.
For me, like I said, this is going to be based on the competitive version of it. I won't ding it for the fact that I don't love the cooperative version quite as much. I'm giving it an 8.
I will actually give it an 8.5 just because I almost put 2 words together. The co-op and solo version exists. I'm giving it an extra 0.5 because that makes it easier to get to the table. And we were talking about the different amount of age range. The fact that there is a co-op version of the game means that you could easily get this in the hands of like a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, and get it to the table. So I'm looking at it as a value added, even if it's not the best version of the game, because none of those elements make the competitive version weaker. And as Julie said, it's fun. You're not going to be, it's very abstract. You're not going to be in each other's face. And it's very easy to get to the table with a lot of different types of people. And if you have a friend in your group like we do that is a storyteller, you're going to have a great time after you finish the game and you're going through all the cards and telling the story
You can let
of
that
those heroes
person
that
tell
you...
the story of everybody's heroes.
Exactly. But suffice it to say, Brotherwise, we enjoy this game.
And you can look for the links below that are going to link to other games that we've reviewed recently.
Yes, well, not necessarily recently. You will have a link to probably our most recent video, as well as Unearth, the first Brotherwise game that we reviewed. And I will say that I wasn't the biggest fan of Unearth.
I enjoyed it. It was pretty as well.
Yes. I reviewed that one with Sammy G, and I think that much like Unearth, this one does have that random element to the game.
And as always, you can like, comment, subscribe, click that bell for the notification so you can know when we have some new content for you.
Yes, and if you'd like to follow us on social media, just look down below in the video description and you will also find links to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So with that being said, what are we doing?
We're going to grab our drinks.
Grabbing our drinks. I've been wanting this for a while. Grabbing our best friend. And we're going to keep heeding the call to adventure.
Okay.
I thought she was going to come back and just say, keep playing games.
Keep playing games.